Live from New Delhi, you're watching the India News Hour, India's voice to the world with me, Deepika, coming up in the next 1 hour. Tsunami hits Russia and Japan after a massive 8.8 earthquake strikes off Russia's far east. Alerts sounded in Japan, US and many South American and East Asian nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says no world leader tried to stop Operation Sindoor, reiterates India will threat terror sponsors and masterminds alike. Special discussion of Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor continues in the upper house of the Indian Parliament. External Affairs Minister to speak today. The NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar on ISAR all set for launch from India's Sriharikota to set new records in global Earth observation. NISAR satellite is capable of all-weather 24/7 mapping of the Earth. UK says it will recognize Palestinian state unless Israel substantive steps and agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza. Arab states endorse two-state solution, join the chorus for Hamas to disarm and exit Gaza. And US President Donald Trump issues fresh ultimatum to end Ukraine conflict in 10 days or face new sanctions. Russia says it wants peace in Ukraine hours after mounting attacks that killed at least 25 people. And to begin with the latest, a magnitude 8.8 earthquake struck off Russia's far eastern Kamchatka Peninsula on Wednesday morning, damaging buildings and generating a tsunami of up to 4 meters that prompted warnings and evacuations stretching across the Pacific Ocean. Several people were injured in the remote Russian region after a tsunami with a height of 3 to 4 meters was recorded in parts of Kamchatka. Well, this was the region's strongest earthquake since the year 1952. Meanwhile, local administration has urged people to move away from the shoreline. The US Geological Survey said the earthquake was shallow at a depth of 19.3 kilometers and was centered 119 kilometers east-southeast of Petropavlovsk-Kamchatsky. It revised the magnitude up from 8 earlier and reported a strong aftershock of magnitude 6.9 soon after. While much of Japan's eastern seaboard was ordered to evacuate, it was devastated by a powerful earthquake and tsunami in the year 2011. Japan's weather agency upgraded its warning, saying it expected tsunami waves of up to 3 meters to reach large areas of its coast. Workers evacuated the stricken Fukushima nuclear plant, where a meltdown following the 2011 tsunami caused a radioactive disaster. Only small waves were recorded, and Japan's Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshimasa Hayashi said there were no injuries or damage reported so far and no irregularities at any nuclear plants. Sirens have also been sounded in Honolulu after officials in Hawaii ordered an immediate evacuation of large parts of the island. Officials in Hawaii and California are warning the public to stay away from beaches and low-lying areas. Hawaii is currently under a tsunami warning, with officials warning of destructive waves. US President Donald Trump also advised people there in Alaska about the US Pacific coast to stay safe in the wake of tsunami. The Consulate General of India in San Francisco is monitoring the potential tsunami threat following the recent 8.7 magnitude earthquake off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula. Indian nationals in California, other U.S. West Coast states and Hawaii are advised to take the following steps, which includes follow local alerts, which means carefully monitor alerts from U.S. authorities, including local emergency management and the U.S. tsunami warning centers. It further says move to higher ground if tsunami alert is issued, and further avoid coastal areas and prepare for emergency and keep devices charged. Well, emergency helpline numbers are +1 415 483 6629 or reach through email on inquiry.sf@mea.gov.in. Indonesia's geophysics agency has also issued a warning that tsunami waves of less than 0.5 meter could hit some parts of Indonesia on Wednesday afternoon. The tsunami could reach some coastal cities and towns in the Papua region, North Maluku province and Gorontalo province. The Philippine Seismology Agency has also advised people to stay away from beaches in coastal areas facing the Pacific Ocean on Wednesday, as these regions are expected to experience tsunami waves of less than 1 meter in height. And Shubhendu Ghosh joins us for more. Good morning, Shubhendu. Fill us in with the latest on tsunami alerts across Japan and the US after the deadly earthquake that shook Russia in the early hours of Wednesday today.
Good morning, Deepika. That's right. Wednesday morning, a report of an 8.8 Richter scale earthquake struck the Kamchatka Peninsula. This is in eastern Russia that has led to severe tsunami warning across the Pacific region. In the Americas in particular, the Pacific coast, Alaska and the Pacific regions of Hawaii were where large-scale evacuations are taking place, and a tsunami alert has been issued. There were tsunami waves that were reported in the region of eastern Russia. Immediately about 10 to 13 feet of waves were reported in Russia, where the initial damage has also been reported. Besides Japan, the Hokkaido province in the north of Japan. But as the morning progressed across the Pacific coast of Japan, evacuation and alert for tsunami has been issued. The Fukushima nuclear plant that has been shut in the context of the 2011 tsunami damage was also evacuated. There were maintenance staff who were present at the nuclear plant. Similar warnings have also been issued across different parts of Latin America and also Southeast Asia. We mentioned Philippines and China and Indonesia. Tsunami warning of different degrees have been mentioned, Deepika. Also Peru has alerted citizens, especially in the coastal regions, to be on a high alert at the moment.
And also, do we have any update on relief and rescue operation there in Russia? Russian eastern coast is where the earthquake struck, and from where the tsunami warnings have emerged, Deepika. We're learning about a coastal town of Severodvinsk. It's a coastal town of about 2,000 people, where reports of damaged buildings and flooding has been reported. That is one part of Russia which is severely impacted with the high waves that have resulted because of the tsunami. But similar high waves of different intensities are also expected to hit different parts of the Pacific region. And as we mentioned, that Americas and Japan have alerted their citizens, particularly about coastal areas. As the day progresses, we'll have to wait and watch the manner in which the tsunami warning plays out. All right. Thank you so much, Shubhendu, for getting us the latest on this. Moving on, tsunami alerts were also issued across much of the Pacific on Wednesday after an 8.8 magnitude earthquake off Russia's far east took place. Well, here are the key facts about tsunamis and the damage they can cause. Well, a tsunami is a shock of water that spreads through the sea, usually triggered by a strong earthquake beneath the ocean floor. The sudden, violent movement of the Earth's crust can thrust up or drive down a section of the seabed, with the rift displacing vast quantities of water that move as waves. Well, tsunamis radiate in all the directions from their source and can cover enormous distances, sometimes at the speed of a jet plane as well. And they are a rare phenomena but can create dangerously powerful currents and cause deadly flooding in coastal areas as well. Large quakes are the main driver of tsunamis, but the phenomenon can also be sparked by other cataclysmic geographic events such as volcanic eruptions and landslides as well. Now further, large storms or a meteoroid falling into the ocean can also lead to a powerful enough tsunami. Tsunamis at their point of generation have a relatively small wave height with peaks far apart. Now as the waves approach the shore, they are compressed by the shelving of the sea floor, reducing the distance between the peaks and vastly increasing the heights. So when they hit the coast, tsunami waves can strike repeatedly over several hours or even days. The first sign of something amiss can be the retreat of the sea, which is followed by the arrival of large waves. The Pacific Ocean is particularly prone to earthquakes and therefore to tsunamis as well, and henceforth the tsunami alerts. And Mexico has also mobilized authorities at all the levels of government to keep its population away from Pacific beaches due to tsunami warning. The Mexican Navy warned that strong currents are expected at port entrances from Baja California in the northwest to Chiapas in the south of Mexico, whereas Peru also issued a tsunami warning and said that the situation will be kept under constant surveillance. Meanwhile, Ecuador also ordered preventive evacuations of beaches, docks and low-lying areas in the Galapagos Islands off its coast late on Tuesday. Time to take a short break, but still to come on the other side. After the break, we'll get you more details on why and how France backed UK's planned recognition move. And Australia to include alphabet on YouTube in its world-first ban on social media for teenagers.
Jharkhand will mesmerize you with majestic nature, rich heritage and colorful culture.
Hello.
Johar.
And it fits perfectly.
Thank you.
Full workout हो गया.
Ready?
Postcards from Jharkhand on National Geographic.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India News Hour. Well, UK has warned Israel on Tuesday that it will formally recognize the state of Palestine in September unless Israel takes various substantive steps, including agreeing to a ceasefire in Gaza. The potentially landmark move, a part of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's plan for a lasting peace, came after the British leader recalled his cabinet from recess for urgent talks on the worsening situation in the besieged territory. He said Israel must end the appalling situation in Gaza, agree to a ceasefire and commit it to a long-term sustainable peace, reviving the prospect of a two-state solution.
Our goal remains a safe and secure Israel alongside a viable and sovereign Palestinian state. But right now, that goal is under pressure like never before. I've always said that we will recognize a Palestinian state as a contribution to a proper peace process at the moment of maximum impact for the two-state solution. With that solution now under threat, this is the moment to act.
But Israel has rejected the UK move, arguing it constitutes a reward for Hamas. Israel's foreign ministry said recognition to Palestine harms efforts to achieve a ceasefire in Gaza. Starmer has said that Britain was prepared to recognize a Palestinian state in September at the United Nations General Assembly in response to growing public anger over the images of starving children in Gaza. While Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Starmer has rewarded Hamas' monstrous terrorism and punishes its victims. He said a jihadist state on Israel's border today will threaten Britain tomorrow. Britain, if it acts, would become the second Western power on the UNSC to do so after France last week. US President Donald Trump's administration, Israel's closest and most influential ally, has made clear it has no intention of joining others in recognizing Palestinian statehood anytime soon. While traveling back to the US after meeting Starmer in Scotland, Trump said he and Starmer did not discuss London's plan to recognize a Palestinian state.
No, we never discussed it, surprisingly. It was never really discussed. Maybe a little bit at the news conference, but he was sort of discussing it with you. We never did discuss it, and we have no view on that. We're going to get a lot of money to the area so they can get some food. He's going to also. I think the European Union is going to put up money too for food, and hopefully it's going to be properly distributed, and it will be. I think it will be. We have some pretty good response on people for the distribution of the food.
Meanwhile, the U.S. State Department said that United Nations conference on a two-state solution between Israel and the Palestinians will prolong the war, embolden Hamas and reward its obstruction.
The UN is serving as host to an unproductive and ill-timed conference on the so-called two-state solution in New York City. This is a publicity stunt that comes in the middle of delicate diplomatic efforts to end the conflict in Gaza. Far from promoting peace, the conference will prolong the war, will embolden Hamas, and reward its obstruction and undermine real-world efforts to achieve real peace.
France has, however, welcomed Britain's announcement, with its Foreign Minister Jean-Noel Barrot saying the move aims to reopen the prospect of peace in Near and Middle East.
La situation à Gaza.
The situation in Gaza is catastrophic. Gaza is now a death trap where, as I said yesterday at the United Nations General Assembly, bodies bear the scars of famine and minds are plagued by terror. It is unacceptable that women and children are targeted and killed in cold blood in distribution lines for humanitarian aid. It is shameful and must stop.
Arab nations including Qatar, Saudi Arabia and Egypt joined international calls for Hamas to disarm and relinquish control of Gaza in a bid to end the conflict. Now, a total of 17 countries, along with the European Union and the Arab League, endorsed a joint declaration at a United Nations conference focused on reviving the two-state solution. The 7-page document called for Hamas to step aside and hand over its weapons to the Palestinian Authority under international supervision and support. Volunteers from Israel's Druze community have launched a humanitarian initiative to collect aid for Druze in Sueda following the recent violence in the southern Syrian city and province. Organizers said the effort aims to deliver food, clothing and medical supplies to those affected in Syria. A warehouse was set up to gather the collected humanitarian aid distribution to the Druze in Syria. Hundreds of people were killed in days of sectarian violence in Sueda, where government forces were sent to quell clashes between Druze factions and Bedouin tribes. The United States and China have wrapped up another round of trade talks without any major breakthroughs in Stockholm on Tuesday. After their 2 days of talks, Chinese negotiators declared a consensus for an extension of the pause on tariff increases, while the American side insisted that no deal would be final without President Trump's approval. Yes, Ma.
Chinese and US trade negotiators concluded their 2-day meeting in Stockholm Tuesday without any major breakthroughs. However, both sides described the talks as constructive. The negotiations came as a truce established in May is set to expire on August 12th, threatening to revive the turmoil that hit in April when both nations engaged in tit for tat tariffs. After 2 days of negotiations, China and US agreed to hold further talks on extending their tariff truce, although US trade representatives said any extension would require President Trump's approval.
With respect to a potential pause, we're going to head back to Washington, D.C., and we're going to talk to the president about whether that's something that he wants to do. It's certainly something that's been under discussion, and so we'll brief the president on the outcome of this, and we'll see if there are any. We have further technical discussions that are happening right now as we speak among the teams, and so the president can make a final call on whether that's something that he wants to do.
The negotiations are taking place in the wake of a trade deal struck over the weekend that set US tariffs on most European Union imports at 15%. The truce between China and the United States has temporarily set fresh US duties on Chinese goods at 30%, while Chinese levies on trade in the other direction stand at 10%. US Treasury Secretary Bessent said that Washington does not want to decouple trade ties with Beijing, but wants to de-risk industries like rare earths and pharmaceuticals.
Now here you have the two largest economies in negotiation, and as I've said before, and we reiterated to them, we don't want to decouple. We just need to de-risk with certain strategic industries, whether it's the rare earths, semiconductors, medicines. And we talked about what we could do together to get into balance within the relationships.
Chinese international trade representatives said that the two sides will continue pushing for the continued extension of the pause on tariffs.
According to the consensus between China and the United States, the two sides will continue to push for the continued extension of the pause on the 24% part of the reciprocal tariffs on the US sides, as well as the countermeasures on the Chinese side. The two economic and the trade teams will continue to maintain close communication and have timely exchanges on the trade and economic topics.
Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump has said that trade talks between US representatives and China were positive, adding that he expects to meet his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping sometime this year.
I just had a phone call from Scott Bessent and had a very good meeting with China, and it seems that, they're going to brief me tomorrow. We'll either approve it or not, but he felt very good about the meeting. He wants to meet, and I look forward to the meeting too, but I would say before the end of the year.
Beijing and Washington have been at loggerheads on a range of issues as well as tariffs, including US demands that China's ByteDance sell TikTok and that China speed up its exports of critical minerals. Bureau Report, DD India.
US President Donald Trump escalated pressure on his Russian counterpart Vladimir Putin for Russia to make progress towards ending the war in Ukraine or face consequences. Trump said on Tuesday that the United States would start imposing tariffs and other measures on Russia 10 days from today if Moscow showed no progress towards ending its more than 3-year-long conflict in Ukraine. Trump set the 50-day deadline for Putin earlier this month after repeatedly airing frustration with his opposite number in Moscow for continuing attacks on Ukraine. Now, Trump has threatened new sanctions on Russia and buyers of its exports unless a peace deal is reached.
Mr. President, yesterday you mentioned that you would change the Russia deadline to 10 to 12 days. Has that started yet, or when can we, see the official statement that is the new deadline?
I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you now. Do you want a big scoop?
Yes, please.
Everybody else, close your ears, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
10 days from today. And then, we're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going. But we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.
Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hailed Donald Trump's statement after the US president said he would cut the 50-day deadline he set for Russia to 10 days now. Zelensky said that Ukraine is ready to work as productively as possible with America to work with President Trump to end this conflict with dignity and lasting peace. Now, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced on Tuesday that it wants to repeal its landmark 2009 finding that classified carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases as pollutants threatening human health. Trump administration said on Tuesday it will rescind the long-standing finding that greenhouse gas emissions endanger human health, removing the legal foundation for all U.S. greenhouse gas regulations. If finalized, the repeal would end current limits on greenhouse gas pollution from vehicle tailpipes, power plant smokestacks and other sources, and hamper future U.S. efforts to combat global warming. The proposal, which needs to undergo a public comment period, would cut $54 billion in costs annually through the repeal of all greenhouse gas standards, including the vehicle tailpipe standard. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese reassured the parents on Wednesday as he announced the government will add YouTube to sites covered by its world-first ban on social media for teenagers, reversing an earlier decision to exempt the Alphabet-owned video-sharing site and potentially setting up a legal challenge. The decision came after the internet regulator urged the government last week to overturn the YouTube carve-out, citing a survey that found 37% of minors reported harmful content on the site.
We want Australian parents and families to know that we've got your back. We know this is not the only solution and there's more to do, but it will make a difference.
Details of how the laws will be implemented are set to be presented in the Parliament on Wednesday, with the ban due to take effect from December. The government had previously indicated YouTube would be exempt, given its widespread use in classrooms. Australia announced last year it was drafting laws that will ban the children from social media sites such as Facebook, TikTok and Instagram until they turn 16. So YouTube will be included in Australia's world-first social media ban for children after the government ditched a previous exemption for the platform. So Australia will include YouTube in its teen social media ban targeting under 16s, reversing an earlier exemption. The ban is set to take effect in the month of December and has now been expanded. YouTube argues it should not be classified as social media since its primary function is video hosting. And under the ban, youth will still be able to view YouTube videos but will not be permitted to have an account. Also, under the ban, tech companies can fine up to $32.2 million if they don't comply with the age restrictions. They will need to deactivate existing accounts and prohibit any new accounts. Exclusions to the ban will include online gaming, messaging, education and health apps. Other social media companies such as Meta's Facebook and Instagram, Snapchat and TikTok had argued an exemption for YouTube would be unfair. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said social media has a social responsibility and kids are being negatively impacted by online platforms. Axolotls, one of the critically endangered amphibians which are native to Mexico, have become the subject to massive public attention at Aqua Rio in Rio de Janeiro's largest aquarium after being rescued in a 2022 anti-trafficking operation. The 22 specimens that arrived in Rio were seized by Brazil's environmental agency and the federal police in 2022 and initially housed at Bioparque do Pantanal in Mato Grosso do Sul. These amphibians now appear in a new exhibit titled Kingdoms of the Axolotls. Visitors are captivated by the creatures, often called miniature dragons, while biologists stress their role in conservation education. The exhibit aims to spotlight the threats these unique amphibians face and rally support against global wildfire trafficking. Time to take a quick and short break, but still to come on the other side. India-Nepal boundary matters reviewed at the two-day 7th India-Nepal Boundary Working Group meet in New Delhi. India delivers fresh consignment of critical medical aid to Syria. And up next, we'll tell you the story of how Indians went to Indonesia decades ago and established their own community.
Welcome to Jaipur.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching the India News Hour. Time to quickly recap the top headlines of the hour. Tsunami hits Russia and Japan after massive 8.8 earthquake strikes off Russia's far east. Alerts sounded in Japan, US and many South American and East Asian nations. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says no world leader tried to stop Operation Sindoor, reiterates India will treat terror sponsors and masterminds alike. Special discussion of Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor continues in the upper house of the Indian Parliament. External Affairs Minister to speak today. NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar or NISAR all set for launch from India's Sriharikota to set new records in global Earth observation. NISAR satellite is capable of all weather 24/7 mapping of Earth. And UK says it will recognize Palestinian state unless Israel substantive steps and agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza. Arab states endorse two-state solutions. Join the chorus for Hamas to disarm and exit Gaza. US President Donald Trump issues fresh ultimatum to end Ukraine conflict in 10 days or face new sanctions. Russia says it wants peace in Ukraine hours after mounting attacks that killed at least 25 people. Updates on the ongoing monsoon session of the Indian Parliament. Well, special discussion on Operation Sindoor will continue in the upper house of the Indian Parliament. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar and leader of the upper house J.P. Nadda will be speaking today at the Parliament. Earlier on Tuesday, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh initiated the discussion in the upper house, recounting the operational precision and bravery displayed during Operation Sindoor. He emphasised that the response was not just military but moral. Operation Sindoor, Singh said, was a message that India will not forgive nor forget when it comes to the safety of its people. While in the lower house of the Indian Parliament or Lok Sabha, on Tuesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke on Operation Sindoor, hailing it as a turning point in India's national security doctrine and a definitive end to Pakistan's long-standing policy of nuclear blackmail.
अमेरिका के उपराष्ट्रपति जी ने मुझे फोन पे बताया कि पाकिस्तान बहुत बड़ा हमला करने वाला है, ये उन्होंने मुझे बताया। मेरा जो जवाब था, जिनको समझ नहीं आता है उनको तो नहीं आएगा, मेरा जवाब था अगर पाकिस्तान का ये इरादा है तो उसे बहुत महंगा पड़ेगा। ये मैंने अमेरिका के उपराष्ट्रपति को कहा। अगर पाकिस्तान हमला करेगा तो हम बड़ा हमला कर करके जवाब देंगे, ये मेरा जवाब था। और आगे मेरा एक वाक्य था, मैंने कहा था हम गोली का जवाब गोले से देंगे। ये 9 तारीख रात की बात है और 9 रात में और 10 सुबह हमने पाकिस्तान को सैन्य शक्ति को तहस नहस कर दिया था और यही हमारा जवाब था, यही हमारा जज्बा था।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also spoke about Operation Mahadev, in which 3 terrorists involved in the Pahalgam terror attack were killed. He questioned the opposition's doubts regarding the timing of the operation.
पहलगाम के हमलावरों को कल हमारे सुरक्षा बलों ने ऑपरेशन महादेव करके अपने अंजाम तक पहुंचाया। लेकिन मैं हैरान हूं कि यहां ठहाके लगा के पूछा गया कि आखिर ये कल ही क्यों हुआ। अब ये क्या हो गया है मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा है। क्या ये ऑपरेशन के लिए कोई सावन महीने का सोमवार ढूंढा गया था क्या? क्या हो गया है इन लोगों को? हताशा, निराशा इस हद तक। और देखिए मजा, पिछले कई सप्ताह से हाँ ऑपरेशन सिंदूर वगैरह तो ठीक है, पहलगाम के आतंकियों का क्या हुआ, पहलगाम के आतंकियों का अब हुआ तो कल क्यों हुआ? और कल ही क्यों हुआ? क्या हाल है जिनका।
And now to get you more on this, I am joined by DD India correspondent Dibyendu Mondal. Dibyendu, good morning. After Prime Minister Narendra Modi presented India's stand at the Parliament yesterday on Operation Sindoor as well as Operation Mahadev, what are we expecting from today's proceedings at the Parliament today? Dibyendu.
Well, good morning, Deepika. You know, the discussion in fact, the special discussion on Operation Sindoor in the Lok Sabha has concluded yesterday with the Prime Minister's reply. In fact, it's not a reply, by Prime Minister's statement on the floor of the House, in the lower house. The discussion would continue in the Rajya Sabha today throughout the day. Yesterday, the discussion began in Rajya Sabha, and we had seen a battery of speakers from different political parties who have expressed their opinion, including the Defence Minister, Rajnath Singh, who made that statement on the floor of the upper house, which is Rajya Sabha. So now today in the Rajya Sabha, it is expected that External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will also make his statement at about 1 p.m. this afternoon. There will also be other senior leaders from the BJP that is expected to speak on this special discussion, like we have seen in the lower house. And apart from that, Deepika, in the lower house, the list of business, according to the list of business that we have seen in the Lok Sabha, there will be the merchant bill that will be tabled by the shipping minister Sarbananda Sonowal, and regular proceedings in the Lok Sabha will be underway from 11 a.m. The proceedings will begin, and in the upper house, 16 hours have been dedicated for this special discussion. It is expected to stretch more than 16 hours, like we have seen in the lower house. The discussion in lower house for approximately about 19 to 20 hours. The slated time was 16 hours, but of course, the government wanted to give opportunity to all political parties to express their opinion on the floor of the House, and that is what was seen yesterday in the Lok Sabha. In fact, from Monday till Tuesday, the discussion continued, and even today in the Rajya Sabha, we are expected that the 16 hours time that has been dedicated for the discussion on Operation Sindoor will extend and will continue for about 18 hours and will end by the evening of today.
All right.
Deepika.
Thank you so much, Dibyendu, for joining us and bringing us the latest from Parliament. Moving on, in just a few hours from now, a historic moment in space exploration will unfold at India's Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikota. The NASA ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar, or NISAR, satellite is set to launch on 30th of July at 5:40 p.m. according to Indian Standard Time, aboard ISRO's GSLV F-16 rocket. Now, this joint mission between the Indian Space Research Organisation and NASA marks a monumental leap in global Earth observation. Here's more.
Weighing 2,392 kilograms, NISAR is the first satellite to use dual-frequency synthetic aperture radar, combining NASA's L-band and ISRO's S-band radars with a 12-meter unfurlable mesh antenna. This cutting-edge technology using sweep SAR, for the first time, will scan the Earth's entire land and ice surfaces every 12 days, delivering high-resolution, all-weather, day and night imagery with a 242-kilometer swath. Earlier, Dr. Jitendra Singh, Union Minister for Science and Technology, emphasized its role in climate resilience and sustainable development, noting that NISAR's data will benefit not just India and the US, but nations worldwide, especially developing ones facing climate challenges.
It will be capable of picking up pictures of the surface of Earth up to precision of as small as 1 centimeter. So down from above you can take a picture, a very clear visual of any part of the Earth up to a range of 1 centimeter. And this picturization will keep happening in a cycle almost every 12 days.
NISAR's mission is transformative. It will detect subtle changes in the Earth's surface, tracking ground deformation, ice sheet movements, and vegetation dynamics. From disaster management to climate monitoring, NISAR will provide near real-time data on earthquakes, landslides, floods, and more. Its open data policy ensures free access to this critical information within 1 to 2 days, empowering scientists, governments, and emergency teams worldwide. Developed over a decade with a joint investment of over $1.5 billion, NISAR is a testament to Indo-US collaboration. ISRO's S-band radar and NASA's L-band system integrated at facilities in Bengaluru and California showcase the power of science diplomacy. This launch also marks a milestone for ISRO, as it's the first time a GSLV rocket will place a satellite into a 743-kilometer sun-synchronous polar orbit.
We are going to launch using our 18th GSLV rocket, which is going to use the 12th indigenously developed cryogenic rocket engine. And this is going to give a lot of benefit to the common man of the not only India, global community. And in fact, the satellite can cover the entire world once in 12 days. It can cover the entire world, and it is going to be used for multiple purpose, including Earth observation and disaster warning and mitigation. Multiple purpose. It is going to benefit the common man of. It's a global community, the common man of the global community.
As the countdown begins, the world watches with anticipation. NISAR's launch is not just a scientific milestone, but a symbol of what two democracies can achieve together for the planet's future. Akshay Dongre's report for DD India.
And now to get you more on this, I'm joined by DD India's Jay Singh from Sriharikota. Good morning, Jay Singh. Tell us about the mission and the importance of this very crucial launch.
Well, Deepika, this is a very historic launch because just exactly 50 years after the joint India-US mission called SITE, the satellite instructional television experiment, this major mission is taking place. This is not just like the earlier version. This is a very gigantic mission. The preparations were going on for last 10 years in both the countries, in NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory and also in Bangalore, ISRO headquarters. So now it is coming to a fruition, the consummation of such a gigantic effort, $1.5 billion worth of mission. The first time in the history of the world, this mission will be having two bandwidths, one L band provided by ISRO and one S band provided by NASA. So the advantage is that it can map the surface of the Earth to the correction of 1 centimeter, even a variation of 1 centimeter some 12 days ago from today to this moment can be easily captured for scientists to study the movement of, the water bodies, any movement for that sense, even the vegetation, the crop growth, all these things can be easily monitored by the global community, not just for India and America alone. This is for the whole humanity. So this is a historic mission with several firsts in its class.
And also, how is it going to add value to India's existing space exploration ambitions?
Well, this is actually a polar synchronous satellite. It will be covering from pole to pole the whole Earth in 12 days. But the human mission, Gaganyaan mission, is a little different. It will be on a geosynchronous orbit, which is slightly different. But such international collaboration will surely go a long way in furthering the prospects of Gaganyaan.
All right, thank you so much for joining us and bringing us the latest straight from Sriharikota. Moving on, we are getting a breaking news coming in from Jammu and Kashmir. In a major breakthrough by the Indian Army, a successful anti-infiltration operation was carried out this morning under Operation Shiv Shakti. Alert troops eliminated 2 terrorists attempting to infiltrate across the line of control, the LOC, after a suspected movement was observed along the fence in Jen area of Poonch sector of Jammu division this morning. Following which, synergistic and synchronized intelligence inputs from own intelligence units and police were used to lead a successful Shiv Shakti operation. 3 weapons were also recovered and the operation is currently under progress. Now, notably, the Poonch encounter comes 2 days after 3 terrorists involved in the Pahalgam terror attack, who left 26 civilians dead, were killed in an encounter near Srinagar. Home Minister Amit Shah told the Parliament during a debate on Operation Sindoor on Tuesday that the 3 terrorists killed in Operation Mahadev, Suleiman, Afghani and Gibran are the perpetrators of heinous Pahalgam terror attack. Moving on, the Surya Command of Indian Army will be hosting a drone competition called Surya Droneathon 2025 in 2 phases from the 10th of August in Sumdu, Himachal Pradesh, in collaboration with Drone Federation of India. The first of its kind event is being organized in Spiti Valley that boasts one of the highest drone obstacle courses across the country. Now, this initiative of Indian Army is aimed at harnessing cutting-edge indigenous technology and fostering a robust ecosystem of innovation in the defence sector. The competition aims to encourage development of advanced drone solutions tailored to meet the evolving operational requirements of the Indian Army. It will serve as a dynamic platform for showcasing novel designs, technological breakthroughs and innovative military applications of drone technology. Key objective of the competition includes promoting indigenous research, development and manufacturing of advanced drone systems within India. The event will have participation in 3 major categories, starting from service personnel, open category or the freelance pilots and original equipment manufacturers, with the last date for registration being the 5th of August. Now, the 7th meeting of the India-Nepal Boundary Working Group concluded in New Delhi on Tuesday. During the 2-day meeting, both the sides reviewed the progress of work done subsequent to the last BWG meeting held in the month of August back in the year 2019. The 2 sides jointly adopted updated modalities for inspection, repair and maintenance of boundary pillars along the India-Nepal boundary and agreed to expedite work in this regard using latest technologies. The BWG meeting also finalized the work plan for the next 3 years. It was also agreed that the next Survey Officials Committee meeting would be held soon in Nepal on mutually agreed dates. India's humanitarian outreach to Syria continued with the delivery of a fresh consignment of critical medical aid. The Ministry of External Affairs said India handed over a consignment of 5 metric tons of essential life-saving medicines, including anti-cancer, antibiotics and anti-hypersensitive to Syria. The gesture is part of India's ongoing efforts to provide relief and medical assistance to conflict-affected regions and underscore New Delhi's commitment to extend support during humanitarian crisis. On to business updates now. IMF, or the International Monetary Fund, on Tuesday raised the global growth projection marginally, with the Indian economy too likely to see an expansion more than what was estimated earlier. In its latest update, IMF said India is projected to grow 6.4% in 2025 and 2026, reflecting a more benign external environment than assumed in the April reference forecast. The estimate for this fiscal year ending March 2026 is 0.2 percentage points higher than the earlier one. Global growth is projected at 3% for 2025 and 3.1% next year. For the US and China too, growth estimates have been revised. The Nepal Automobile Importers and Manufacturers Association will organize NAIMA Nepal Mobility Expo 2025 from the 6th of August till the 10th of it in the capital Kathmandu. The exhibition will launch 15 two-wheelers, 15 four-wheelers and 5 commercial vehicles. International companies will participate in the expo, including the Indian companies like Mahindra PV in four-wheeler category, and in two-wheeler sector, brands like Ather, Bajaj, TVS, Ultraviolet and others will participate. The president of NAIMA stated that the exhibition will feature panel discussions by various national and international experts.
5% of the ticket revenue from this expo will be dedicated to a very important social cause, which is supporting research and fellowship programs in the partnership with the Ministry of Education and CTEBT.
Moving on now, let's get you all the latest action from the world of sports. To begin with badminton. Asian Game champions Satvik Sairaj, Ranki Reddy and Chirag Shetty cruised into the second round of the Macau Open badminton tournament. Indian duo beat Lang Hangkie and Enchi Ongxiang of Malaysia by 21-13, 21-15 in the opening round. Satvik Sairaj started with high intensity and closed out the first game with ease. In the second game, the Malaysians tried to make a comeback, but the Indians stringed together 4 consecutive points to seal the match. In women's doubles category, Commonwealth Games bronze medalists Risa Choli and Gayatri Gopi Chand suffered a shock opening round exit after losing by 16-21, 22-20, 21-15 against Chinese Taipei pair of Lin Xiaomin and Peng Youwei. A walk through Little India in Jakarta tells the story of how Indians came to Indonesia decades ago and established their own community. The tour takes the participants to textile shops and temples while sharing the story of Indians in the Indonesian capital. DD India's Chandni Vasantani files this report. Take a look.
Business activities keep the Pasar Baru area buzzing in central Jakarta. But few truly explore what is known as the Little India area. That's changing thanks to Jakarta Good Guide's newest walking tour, giving people a glimpse of the area that was the first Indian settlement of the city. The tour begins among rows of fabric shops run by generations of Indian-Indonesian textile traders. It continues to the Gandhi Memorial School, established by the Bombay Merchants Association, before stopping at the vibrant Sai Mandir temple and at the Gurdwara nestled just around the corner.
I've heard about the area before, but I feel like this is the first time for me to do this kind of tour, walking around Jakarta. I think it's very interesting. It's informative, and it proves me again and again that Jakarta is such a multicultural city. It's a city that, is a living symbol, really, of Indonesia's national motto. That's unity and diversity, and I think that's something that more people of Jakarta need to explore on their own terms.
Creating the tour required months of research. The goal is to go beyond the obvious and uncover the story of how Indian communities shaped Jakarta's identity.
Yeah, so we do research because we want to know the real and then the concept what we have to tell to the people. Because for us, Little India is quite interesting too. So we do research from the first at the beginning, how come the Indian people and do activity here in Jakarta. Start from Sumatra, for example, and then come to Jakarta because Jakarta is a big city at that time and until now. So we do research to know knowledge about the Indian people in Jakarta.
A walk through Jakarta's Little India reveals a community that is very embedded in Indonesia's cultural fabric. In the past, Indian empires have shaped Indonesia's culture, society, tradition, and language, and you can see elements of that when you're walking through this area. Today, Indians who have moved here as traders have established a strong community across Indonesia.
As Jakarta continues to grow and modernize, tours like this are a reminder that the city's most compelling stories are hiding in plain sight. This is Chandni Vasandani for DD India.
And that's all for this edition of DD India News Hour. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code and download it now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India News Hour.